All right, we are live. We're on another session of Big Buck Registry Live Thursday night. Love doing these things. We're back. And tonight we have Dusty Phillips, our co-host of the podcast. I
How's
don't see him
everybody?
yet, but he's somewhere in there. And we've got Hunter's Blend Coffee with us today, one of our sponsors. We're psyched to have you guys on. We got Paul Kurtz. Paul Kurtz was on our podcast on episode 248 not too long ago, earlier this year. There's Dusty. And Mike Swartzentruber. And these guys are two of the guys that are part of the team of Hunter's Blend Coffee. You guys are a sponsor of the show. And as we like to do, we like to dive deep and see what our sponsors are up to. So thanks for joining us, guys.
Good to be here.
Yes, sir. See ya.
So before we talk about deer season, what's happening over at Hunter's Blend?
Well, coming into Christmas, it's like everybody's deciding that we need some coffee because we're busy. February, March, it'll dry up a little bit, but we're busy roasting. Actually, what I've been spending a lot of time last week on is working with our producing partners that we'll be buying containers from in Nicaragua and Ethiopia. So that's kind of shipping. Green coffee ships March, April. So I got to do a lot of work right now in prep for that.
Gotcha. So are we going to take a little tour of your facility there a little later on?
Sure thing. Tell everybody to hang around.
All right. Dusty, what's happening over in Ohio, where you're at?
Trying to kill a deer. You know, tis the season for late whitetail hunting here in Ohio, and I'm excited about it. Trying to chase a real good buck down that I've got on trail camera, and he's pretty active in my area. But other than that, drinking some Hunter's Blend coffee here lately with this colder weather moving in. It's coffee season.
Nice. Guys, I love your coffee, by the way. We got to try it out at ATA.
Have you tried our black powder roast at all, the darker version?
I haven't, but I love the name and I'm hooked already. Tell us about that one.
Well, we had a number, I would say probably 25-30% of our people that we've shipped a lot of coffee out and had different trial groups and trying to nail the roast. We got something that we think is smooth and that could be enjoyed by most people, but some still want something darker, a death by coffee or something. So this is dark. The black powder version is stands up and salutes to you.
All right.
It has what I call, you can taste the roaster. It's very dark. So we offer our original version of the Hunter's Blend coffee and then the black powder version.
Nice. Is that online? Can we order those online right now?
Yes.
You can. Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, I will tap in tomorrow morning and grab some black powder coffee. Thanks for bringing that up. So let's talk about Hunter's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
The thing I like about the dark roast is the regular roast is known for being really smooth. So people that maybe aren't even normally coffee drinkers that much, they'll tell us they really like the regular roast, because it's really smooth. It's still bold. It's a medium dark, but it's very smooth. But the dark roast, a lot of dark roasts could be kind of bitter or burnt or charred almost. And for a dark roast, this is still really pretty smooth. So it's maybe not some of the bite that some people are afraid of with the dark roast when it just gets kind of bitter and burned. It's still pretty smooth.
It's got flavor to it.
Yeah.
Let me just say this while we're talking about tasting coffee. There's no right or wrong in coffee. I think sometimes people say we have the best coffee. It's this and this, or this is the coffee you should drink, a light blonde roast. The deal is the coffee's right, whatever you like. And if you like cream and sugar in it, if that's the way your mama's mama did it and your mom did it and you do it that's fine. We drink what we like. We don't drink for health. We don't drink for nutrition. We just drink what we like. And so sometimes there's this snobbery in coffee that you should like light roast or you should like A real man drinks black powder. That's baloney. A real man drinks what real man likes, and it's usually what he's historically always drank. But I would challenge people to try lighter roast because there is this movement, we call it the third wave, where we say coffee will tell you how it will give the most flavor. So different coffee likes to go darker. It'll give more flavor going darker. If you stop it early or stop it at a medium, there's still more it will give you. Some coffee is light roast, and as you go darker, it's over. It just starts tasting empty, flat, and so it's lighter. But we're using extremely high quality, high scoring Thailand coffee and Nicaraguan coffee in the Hunter's Blend. These are not, they're not expensive, you might say, because we're branding it Hunter's Blend. The crazy stuff costs a lot of money from the farm, and the way we're paying the farmers what it's worth. And so it's expensive green coffee. It scores, 85 to 90 in cupping scores. If people are into coffee that are listening, they'll know what I'm talking about. But, it's not commodity grade coffee. It's specialty all the way.
Gotcha. How'd you get into the coffee business, by the way?
Jay, my family got into coffee in 2002. I worked for a church organization, and we were giving money out, help them do water wells, help them do theological education projects and stuff. And next month they needed more money. Next year it was like a dependency was created with handouts. And I remember going into Central America often. My job was visiting with community leaders and pastors, and they were always asking for money. And I'm like, man, you have coffee here. I pay $15 a pound for coffee at Starbucks. Why don't you have some discretionary income that you can do your own vision and ideas that you want to do in your community? And I said that one time in a meeting, and I remember these 12 guys looked at me like I was from Mars, like, don't you know? And I said, don't I know what? There's no money in coffee. We're going backwards. We're broke, we're in debt. And I began to study and took business people down, and we started scratching, trying to find out where the money trail is. Farmers are getting 80 cents a pound to $1.10 a pound. Commodity was hovering around $1.50, $1.40. Now it's down around $1.15 a pound. But a farmer was costing him $1.25 just to produce it. And a broker would buy it, a buyer would buy it. It would go 5-6 hands in country. And I just really started seeing that coffee could be a community development tool if the farmer was at least seen as a vital. He needs to be sustainable. This has got to work for him. And we had to cut out 5-6 middlemen. But we go directly to the farm now, and we buy the coffee. We ship it to our warehouse. We roast it. And so Hunter's Blend is totally direct trade coffee, direct from the farmer to our roastery. And it's kind of a very, very short exchange rate there. There's very few importers that will tell you, or very few roasters that will tell you, we are the importer. We are the buyer from the farm. I know a few, very few. So if your listening audience right now would actually say, I'm going to go find out who imported my coffee, because the importer controls really what he's going to pay the farmer, and then they take their profits, and they might support extreme left organizations that are working to close down hunting. That's why we picked up the line, we're defending hunting. We're hunters too. We believe our lifestyle, our heritage is worth protecting. And if we're all drinking coffee that's trying to shut down what we're trying to do, and coffee makes the hunting world go around, first guy up in the morning, Jay, put the coffee on.
Yeah.
We're drinking coffee, but where'd it come from? And we're giving people an easy on ramp into this whole stream of, we're going to stick together as hunters. We're going to support causes that that are important to us, and we support SCIs, Safari Club and Whitetails Unlimited and North
there's a whole, yeah.
NWTF.
Yeah.
We went into pretty good depth on the podcast when we had John Paul, and for anybody that wants to listen to that episode, you can go to Spotify, you can go to iTunes, and it's all right there on episode 248. You can hear Paul's entire story and about Hunter's Blend and how it all came together. We just touched on it there, but we go really deep. We talked for, I don't know how long, an hour and a half maybe, but it was a really good interview, and we talked deer hunting, we talked coffee, and what you guys are doing, I think, is really important to our community as hunters. And I've never seen a coffee company come at this way. And I'm psyched that you guys are on board with us. And I think you're great ambassadors to the hunting community because you're providing to those organizations that help conservation. And so you buy a cup of your coffee, some of that's going back to those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a handful of women's organizations that we support. We're all trying to help recruit hunters from where we can. I'm a late bloomer. I started, Ken, another brother-in-law and partner, when he married my one sister back when I was around 13, he took me trapping. I grew up on a farm but never done anything outdoors hunting related, and he took me to the outdoors, taught me to trap, which I did kind of through high school, but I never picked up deer hunting. And about 7 years ago I picked up archery and been hunting since. So I'm one of the late bloomer guys, but I hear other stories of people like that. In fact, even heard an interview with the current president of the ATA, I forget his name. He only started archery hunting in the last year. He was a target shooter. So, there's guys in our age bracket that are picking up hunting, which is great. But obviously we all know women's a big growing sector of hunting. So, we support a handful of women's organizations as well. So anywhere where people can be encouraged to pick up hunting, that's something that we want to support.
Dusty, you want to go through some of the comments we're getting? I know we're getting a bunch now.
Yeah, I don't know if mine's keeping up to date here. I'm a little slow tonight for some reason, computer and with the phone. But got some people tuning in from Wisconsin and a lot of viewers, and appreciate everybody joining with us on the Facebook Live with Hunter's Blend Coffee with the guys. And we're going to learn a lot from them tonight about Hunter's Blend Coffee and talk a little bit about hunting too. But Jay, I gotta say my phone ain't keeping up very well for some reason.
Okay. All right. Let me see if I can find some of the comments. I know Billy Dawood checked in. I know Ben Keller's watching. Ben will be at ATA with us this year. I'm just going to share this on my personal post right now.
Yeah, Matt Hyatt said, "What's up, guys? Hope all's well."
Nice. If anybody has any questions about Hunter's Blend Coffee or the how they got into the business or anything that has to do with it, something if you want to ask a question about the flavors, whatever, go ahead and post there below.
One of the things I'll just insert here, kind of a segue from what we were talking about with working with farmers. It's a side benefit I didn't quite realize, but when you take a coffee farmer, and most of them are from developing world, Nicaragua or in Thailand, and you keep it's in the coffee world, it's called the chain of custody, but you keep the traceability of the coffee. In other words, when we talk about Nicaraguan coffee, we're talking about Diego Chavarria, and we branded his name. He's got an international trademark to the name Cafe Diego.
Okay.
Our coffee farmers we work with in northern Thailand are in a small co-op of 25 farmers called Abanzo Coffee. When their name's on the sack that I'm getting, something I never was quite prepared for is the pride that they take in, we are shipping this coffee to Hunter Blend guys. We're shipping this to the United States to Paul. it's crazy because most of them make more coffee. And if you think about corn, if you're used to farming here in the U.S., like corn, around the edges are lower corn and low quality, but in the centers you're good. Well, every coffee farmer has his high quality, then he has his mediocre and his low quality. He sorts it out. And so the coffee that's coming to Hunter's Blend, and I wasn't prepared for this, is the best coffee because their name stays on the bag. It's Cafe Diego. I want my representation of my coffee to be the best. And then what's left, I don't buy all their coffee. I buy 2 or 3 containers a year from Nicaragua. And Diego may come on. He's very responsive to our Facebook stuff. So
Yeah, okay.
So just watch for that. Cafe Diego or Diego Chavadillo.
Gotcha. Very cool.
He tips me the best coffee he's got because he knows I'm talking it up and I'm excited about it. And then the other 3 containers that he's going to sell in the local market, they get the lower quality.
Gotcha. Well, just go through some of the people that are joining us. Phil Smith says, great podcast. Matt Lubinsky, what's up, guys? I said, hey, Dusty. Billy Daw, of course. Joe Ince from Wisconsin. Craig Wagner, Matt Hyatt, Billy Moore, and Jason Obermiller, our sponsor from Rackology, just joined on. He's taking a look to see what's going on. He was on at the last BBR Live, so pretty psyched to have you guys on and talk about Hunter's Blend. I think we should talk a little bit about deer season, guys, unless you have something you want to touch on, Mike.
Oh, I was just going to, reiterate or maybe focus in a little bit on something that Paul said, and that is a lot of times with hunting, I know I made up my mind next year when I go buy my deodorant for hunting days. I'm just going to go just buy the non unscented, fragrant free whatever out of the drugstore. I'm not sure why the money I did this year for my deodorant, but it had a deer sticker on it, and I thought I was getting something that helped molecules or something. This coffee is the opposite of that. We're not taking a commodity product like Paul said, putting a deer sticker on it and then charging for it. Right. This is top 6% probably 6% of coffee. So when you go to the store, almost anything you buy off the shelf is, let's call it, not that. So,
right.
Not coffees. It's just this is a high grade coffee, and so for the grade of coffee that it is, it's a very fair price. You're not paying more because it's got a deer sticker on it. You're buying, you pay better. You pay a little bit more for better quality tools and archery equipment or whatever, and it's the same with coffee. But that's why people like Vicky John Cirillo, she used to always put cream in her coffee, and she said, you know what, I don't put cream in there anymore. That's because it's really good coffee. So anyways, I just wanted to highlight.
Well, that kind of makes me think of something else. How does coffee get graded? Right, so there are all kinds of varieties, but how do you get to that top 6%?
Well, it goes by a score. There's a C grade, and then there's a Q grade. A Q is quality coffee. So anything that is C grade or commodity grade can, and there, I don't know how to explain this, but there's 10 different parts that are scored from 1 to 10. So you got 100 potential, and it's things like acidity, body, aroma, fragrance, tongue, feel, aftertaste. I said body. There's 10 different areas that we're slurping and spitting. Everything your mother said don't do, I do it weekly here. You slurp, you're pulling the coffee over your tongue, you're catching sweetness in the front, salty in the back, and you're it's a set of protocols trying to find a common language to describe this coffee. And so commodity coffee is 50, 60, 75, 78. And when you start getting close to 80, it can step up into the quality scoring. And 80 to 92, 93 is, I mean, coffee in 90s is hard to find. There is 92 and 93. There's no such thing as 100. If somebody says they have 100 score coffee, they didn't score it right. You know, because there is some subjectivity to this a little bit.
Okay.
But we're trying to get that out. So that's how it's scored. But there's also vibrating tables at the farm where they're taking out pieces and sticks and stones and leaves and half defects that are on a density table. That's called triage, or just, and that has got a value on the local market. We'll roast that, and they're roasting sticks and leaves, and it's got to have at least 30% coffee parts to it. Sticks and leaves of coffee trees count.
Well, and
No
so
kidding.
this Q grade Paul's talking about, one of the reasons for that is it creates a common language, so that the guy in New Hampshire grading coffee and the guy in Central Ohio and the guy in LA,
We're talking the same.
yeah, you're going to be within. You have to be within. You have to recertify to make sure that your scale is working, your palate scale, so that everybody speaks the same. It's going to give it the same score.
I got licensed as a Q grader 4 years ago, and every 3 years you have to go recalibrate. And I mean, if you're not calling, something what it is, an ace, you lose your license. You lose your and there's only 400 to 450 licensed Q graders currently in the U.S.
No kidding.
There's a lot of people that took it and either lost their license or let it run out. But there's 2,000 worldwide on the list.
Wow.
Interesting.
It's proof, yeah.
Got a comment that says, "Hello, Paul, from Coffee Farmer in Thailand." And I'm not going to say his name, but I will spell it out because I don't want to mess it up.
Hey, Pat, so good to hear from you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's Pat.
Well, Pat is an amazing young man. He's a leader in the Aka Hill Tribe, one of 70 hill tribes in the northern Thailand region. He has a fantastic collective of farmers. And he is meticulous in sorting, meticulous. He roasts in country. He's got a fantastic roaster. And Pat, I'm glad you're on.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Pat. That's really cool that he got on with us.
Yeah. He's 12 hours different, so he's sitting up there about 9 in the morning
Gotcha.
No kidding. Crazy.
tomorrow.
Yeah, interesting.
I'm going to share my screen here, guys. I want to talk about some deer that you guys had a pretty successful year, and I want to show everybody what we're talking about here. All right, so here's Paul's deer. There you go. You want to tell a story behind this one, Paul?
Hey, Green scored 171 3/8.
Nice.
That's hear me now, but yeah, that was a nice encounter. It went down textbook style.
Textbook. We have a textbook on.
You need to ask him what he had on the stand with him there 15 minutes before he shot that thing too.
Well, first of all, you talk about deodorant. I smelled like a roaster. I was in this shop from 3 to 2:30 in the afternoon. I smelled like hazelnut and vanilla syrup and roasted coffee. And I basically took a thermos of coffee to the tree stand, went up. The wind was blowing hard in my face. I will say that. I had a good breeze in my face. And in front of me was about a 60 yard circle food plot. And so this buck on the picture came out on the other side and was going to walk kind of up a quad trail, and I bleated at him. And he came like on a string and came right to me. He was about 15 yards when I was able to harvest him, and he only ran out of sight and crashed. So,
Beautiful.
I mean, so much for scent elimination. I had just 3 full cups of coffee out of my thermos and just put that away. It's 4 o'clock's coming. And
That's a lot of coffee, Paul.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right,
It's
let's.
good.
Do you carry like a relief bag with you?
That's
A lot
what.
of coffee.
Well, I tell you, I have learned that there's no use. Um, I just hose her down right from the stand, guys. Not,
Hey, I got to ask a guy that roast coffee is a coffee man. How much coffee do you drink in a day, Paul?
um, yeah, I drink a lot of coffee. Probably, I may start in the morning with 2 or 3 right out of the gate by nine
Are we
o'clock.
talking like are we talking like 2 or 3 pots? Or are we talking
Uh, um,
cups?
they're cups. They're 8, 10 ounce cups. I make
Gotcha,
small.
gotcha.
Yeah, I drink a lot of coffee, but I used to work in a nursing home, and we had this priest that would come in and give everybody communion. And it was, I hope I'm not hurting anybody's feelings here, but by the end of the day, because he had to finish everything, the old boy should not have drove away because he could hardly stand on his feet. He was sloshed from giving communion. And I feel like that many days. By the end of the day, I've cupped a bunch of coffees. That's why you sit really, because if you swallowed all the coffee I'm tasting, it wouldn't be over caffeinated.
All right.
Right, I got you. So let's put this in perspective on pots a day. How many pots of coffee a day do you drink?
No, I don't drink pounds. There's about 50 pots.
Yeah, I thought. Or did you say
Oh,
pounds?
I make single cup, everything single pour over coffee. We'll take that to you in a few minutes.
All right, we're going to take a look at Paul's setup here in a little bit. Let me go back to the deer pictures here. Here's Mike's deer for the year. Mike, tell us a story on this one.
Well, so I'm a late bloomer, like I mentioned. I've been archery hunting for about 6 years, and 4 or 5 years ago, I had got a nice basket 8. I've got a couple does, passed on some yearlings, had encounters with really mature bucks, either where they maybe picked me off or I just didn't get them quite close enough. So on the really small properties where I hunt, I mean, it's been very exciting, but I was kind of maybe misplaced my next step up on something a little along the lines of what Paul shot this year. And last year, I kind of out of indecision and kind of being caught up in the moment, I passed on a really decent 8-point, probably 3.5-year-old. And so I told anything that in my mind looks 2.5, I don't care what it is, I'm going to shoot this year. I need to take a step up from where I was and not trying to jump 3 steps at a time. And literally the first day I was out for the rut, this guy came in about, right after lunch. And as soon as I saw him, I just, I'm getting experienced enough to know, like, okay, this is not a little yearling. This is not a whatever. This is what I'm looking for. And I could tell he was kind of broke off on one side, but I went ahead and shot, and he didn't go far, fortunately. And then when my neighbor saw him, he went and got his phone, and here I didn't catch it, but both him and I had this guy on camera this summer. Oh, wow. And really nice. I measured him just myself, just because I was curious. I think he would have scored probably in the mid 120s with both sides. So as I climbed down the tree that day, it settled in me that I did the right thing. This was a good step for me. Next year, the same situation, I would probably let him walk. But for this year and what I've gotten so far, it was a great step up for me. So I let him hang it was a good time of year temperature wise. So I let him hang for a week or so, and then got him cut up, and he's in the freezer, and
Good back straps.
Yeah, eating some of the roasts already. So I've got a couple. I'll need to share my wife's roast recipe that is just out of this world. I'll have to share that with you sometime. But
Nice. All right, we got one more image here to take a look at. Now, who's this young feller?
Well, that's Ken Beachy, my other brother-in-law. I feel like, what was that show, Newhart? This is Daryl, my other brother Daryl. But
That's perfect.
I married Mike's sister, and on the picture is Ken Beachy from Iowa. He married another one of Mike's sisters.
And
So
Ken's the one that took me trapping when he
yeah,
came into the family.
and Ken, Mike, and I own and run Hemisphere Coffee. Or Ken, I have not heard the story, Mike, of this deer. I know it was not the one he was hunting for, and he's got a landowner tag, so he in Iowa, so he can get 2 bucks. So this one, I think he just said it's too good to pass up. It's a 150 class.
Yeah, and it's the first nice buck he's taken off of. He bought a property off his dad, some river bottom,
Oh, yeah.
along the English River just outside of Kelowna, Iowa. It's actually where I grew up. And it's about 19 acres. So it was just, I think it was especially satisfying for him to harvest that nice buck right off of his own land. He said there was just something special about it. And, Paul's big deer was back here off of his 10 acres. And so we all actually hunt fairly small properties. But yeah, so Ken's still on the prowl for a little bigger one yet this year. So
Hey, let me share something that Ken told me, and he may not even remember this, but he's the one that told it was real wisdom. He said he works hard in the summer and in the fall to do all those honeydew things, all the stuff around the house, all the things that need to get done so that when deer season comes, and he hunts a lot weekends. I mean, that guy is a hunting fool when it comes to weekends. He's out all the time. But it was just, and probably all you guys know this, but for me, it was kind of like, wow, I need to do that because there's nothing worse than out hunting. And in the back of your mind, there's 18 other things you ought to be doing. You're going to hear it from your wife. You're going to hear it from your administrative assistant or whatever at the company or wherever you're at. But just take care of that stuff all ahead. In other words, fill the jar so you can pull from the well,
Right.
I don't
Advice.
know if I agree. I don't. It comes to deer season. I mean, what else could be on your mind? I mean, really?
I know. Well, it's like when every time I go golfing, it's like there's 20 other things I ought to be doing. What am I doing out here chasing a ball? And yeah. That's
So
just something.
You guys want to take us on a little tour of your facility? I know you're in the Hunter's Blend roasting facility right now. I've been waiting for this for a long time, and at some point, very soon, I plan to come see you in this location.
We go out this door right here, and we'll take you and show you the roasters where we roast.
Nice.
It's a little festive out here right now because Christmas is coming. But this is a Dietrich IR12. It does about 18 to 20 pounds at a batch. I can do 4 batches an hour. The guy that taught me to roast, he had been roasting for 10 years or so, and when I was with him, he was roasting, and he called weather and had all these inputs, and he ruined 6 batches in one morning. And I'm thinking, the world, am I ever going to learn this? If this guy doing 10 years, well, here's how. This is a $25,000 computer that lets me save a profile or a particular different airflow and temperature on the burner that I did to get this sweet tasting coffee. I can save that.
Give them an example of.
Yeah, so like if you do high heat right at the beginning, and then at the end of the roast, turn the heat off and let it slowly walk to the end, that is going to taste totally different than if I do slow in the beginning and right at the end spike it to the end. Those are like 2 different units of coffees. And different origins, different coffees want a different, that's called profile. What's the profile of the coffee? And this Dietrich, great job profiling, and I can save it and then reproduce it time after time, and I don't ruin batches.
I don't want to stop you, Paul, but Jay's flying in for the ATA on a Wednesday about 5:30 to Dayton Airport. I think that We need to make a set plan now to head to Mechanicsburg as soon as I pick you up at the airport.
Either that or late Saturday, like on your way before he flies out Sunday. But I'd love it if you could do that. We're 45 minutes from the airport.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'll cut across 334 to Route 4 to Mechanicsburg.
You got it. The short. So if Pat is still watching, here is take a Bonzo 120-pound sack, farm direct, single origin. Doichang is the village. A Bonzo coffee. It's a product of Thailand. This is directly from his farms. And the last I heard, I don't know if it's changed, but there were 80 women who were hand sorting this coffee in little clusters and groups. Looks like this right here. They're hand sorting coffee. This is in Thailand. And quite a few of them, maybe 75%, were trafficked or were away from the village, involved in other activity. And when they heard there's work at home, came home. And just the experience I've had the several times I was in Doi Chang, it changed the whole feel. From a quiet, almost depressing kind of village to a thriving, there's schools, Pat can walk into the school and share stories, and he's well known as a leader because he's creating jobs in the village. And that's the power of coffee, is it creates jobs. When people have jobs, they're thriving. They've got
Absolutely.
to take care of themselves. We do some flavor coffee for some other lines that we produce, and that's done on a air roaster. This is called a Savitz third bag roaster. Does about 40 pounds at a time. Here's my a little sample roaster that I will do a 500 gram or a 1 pound sample in and find the profile I want rather than wasting 20 pounds at a time. I'll do a pound and save that profile and dump it into that computer. We do a lot of packaging. This is for whole bean. This is for ground coffee. It's an auger filler. And this is a bag maker. It makes small pouches for fractional packs. This is Nicaraguan warehoused here. We'll get through here real quick. Here's a bear I shot in Quebec last spring.
Wow.
This is a 174 class deer, 174 and 5/8 that we shot in the pound a couple years ago. This is where we fill bags and coffee shops take larger bags. It's just production, and everything goes out the back door. So we roast over here, bring it around, and out the back door. We do about 3,000 to 4,000 pounds a week currently in all several different lines, not just Hunter's Blend, but including.
Right. That's impressive. Yep. Very cool. So you were going to show us what you do. You have a single cup pour system. And you've told me about this before. We talked about it on the podcast that we did. I want to go see this in action.
Okay, so this is live. Stand over here. So this is an interesting brewer. It's got its own. We sell them for, how much are they there? Online, they're $60, let's say.
Yeah.
It has this metallized filter. Works fairly well. If your viewers are used to a Chemex, it's a lot like a Chemex. What I like about it is an insulated thermal carafe, got a lid, and you can put that and just throw it in your truck.
Yeah.
If you're in a blind turkey hunting or waterfowl, take it to your stand. I would not recommend drinking on your stand like I did. I do when I'm guilty, but let me just show you how easy this is to brew up some coffee. I use a 1:16 ratio, 1 part coffee to 16 parts water, which is, I'm going to give some numbers here. You just have 24 ounces of water is roughly 800 grams. Who knows grams? 3 scoops of this is very roughly 50 to 60 grams of coffee. If you're bleary-eyed in the morning and you're heading out to the stand or something, you're not going to weigh grams. So I've got here 24 ounces of water, or about 800 grams. And I'm going to do a pre-wet. And it's important to put several ounces in there just to let the ground start to bloom and be ready for the deluge of coffee. You can just see there's not much extraction going on. It's just blooming. You let that wait 20, 30 seconds and then start. There are competitions, actually barista jams or barista throwdowns or competitions where the competition supplies the coffee, supplies the device, the water, and you're judged only on technique. So there's people that start in the beginning and go out to the outside. There's people that start on the outside and go to the inside and trying to taste the difference. But I'm telling you, if you're freezing cold on a tree stand, I don't care how the thing's poured.
Right. That's a good hot cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So this is called a pour over method. It's very, if any viewers are watching, it's very much, I like when I use this to not use metallized, and I use a Chemex filter. I like a paper filter.
Yep.
Just pre-wash it. Explain what the bloom. Well, the bloom is actually allowing the CO2 of the carbon dioxide to release and really prepare the grounds to extract. So waiting for doing a pre-wet is important. And if you've got a brewer, like a coffee brewer in your kitchen, it's good to get a Bovita or one that actually can do pre-infusion or pre-wet. So this could take up to 2 minutes. I don't know. We'll just put some water in there and we'll do some other things. We'll come back and enjoy a cup of coffee.
All right.
That looks pretty
cool.
slick. I've not seen that system.
Right. That is pretty neat.
I'll do this at noon if I'm running to the bank and then on up to another town to do something. I'll just do one real quick and then screw this off and take it with me. Very nice.
Heck yeah.
This might just say this is called a Kurtz Seraphim. It's a brewer for doing Hario V60s. It'll do Chemexes, but I store recipes of the pre-wet and then total 13 or pot or whatever I put in here. And you can see here it will start delivering 202-degree water immediately. So there's a circulating head in here. And I really like the consistency. This doesn't worry about how you pour. It gives a nice shower. And every cup is the same, no matter what barista's out here working.
That's fascinating. Wow, look at that. So cool.
Just going to the stand real well.
Yeah.
So you just kind of keep working it. You're doing letting the coffee bloom and it releasing the CO2, and this obviously is different than like a quick brew, right? So
Yeah. This is stop and enjoy the process.
Okay. Enjoying the process, and it makes a better cup of coffee, in your opinion?
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Okay.
There, Pat, who from Thailand, has a little a coffee shop pavilion there up on his farm, and some friends of mine visited him. I think it was this spring, early summer, and Pat, I'm talking to you. They said they had the best cup of coffee, and these are diehard coffee drinkers. They spent a lot of years in Latin America, so they said it was the best cup of coffee they ever had that he made. There is something to technique. There is something to. You don't want to fill this up and just, in the center of your cone is your biggest column of coffee. That's where you're going to get the most contact, water ground contact. If it is allowed to slip around the side, but what happens is it starts going up and hanging up, so you do need to wash the side walls off. I'm getting very technical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll just that drip off, and then you can just pour off a cup of coffee. Here you go, Mike. Bon appetit.
By the way, Paul built countertops out of concrete himself.
Yeah.
Really?
This one over 1,000. I had to use a forklift to set this in here. Yeah, you guys are welcome to come, and anybody,
Is your shop open to the public?
Yes, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Okay.
And we call this area a tasting room. In other words, we don't do smoothies or iced, chais and stuff. We stick to coffee. And so we do, just like a wine tasting room, we'll do flights. If people want to pair an Ethiopian with an Avanzo medium roast, we'll let them taste both of them, 8 ounces.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is sell beans, ground coffee to take out.
Right.
Those.
Right. So what's the location of the facility in case people are in the Mechanicsburg area?
275 East Sandusky Street.
Okay. Okay. All right. Very good.
And then another thing I learned from Pat in Thailand, because they grow coffee, they have high duty on any other coffee coming in. They're trying to protect their own growers. So they don't want a bunch of Kenyan coming in and Colombian. So if you're going to ship outside coffee into Thailand, it's very expensive. Right. So every Thailand there's a lot of coffee shops in Thailand. They're trying to, somehow work with all Thai coffee. So this mountain is different from that mountain. But one thing Pat taught me was the importance of a well-roasted, correctly roasted Thai coffee as a single origin espresso. And that's what I started doing. I add a little bit of dry process Ethiopian to it. But our espresso, I call it award-winning espresso. I gave the award. It's very good.
So what is fascinating to me, Paul, is that you put this much thought and care and effort in a cup of coffee, and then you bring that care into the hunting industry. Yeah. And you put as much care and thought into what hunting is, the conservation aspects of it, and you take some of your money and put it into the organizations that are well positioned to make sure that our hunting heritage continues for a very long time. It's amazing that a cup of coffee can do this. And I know this is your motto and as part of your concept, but I don't know any other coffee company doing this, right?
I don't know of any importing and because to me, coffee is just the tool. And I would tell this to Pat, I would tell it to Diego, because in this 100 blend coffee is Thailand Avanzo coffee, is Nicaraguan Café Diego coffee, 2 blended. And several years ago, I had the privilege of taking Pat from Thailand to Nicaragua. And I have a picture, maybe I can send it to you, of Pat and Diego, the 2 coffee farmers that are in this coffee. We're all hugging. We're in this together. And I don't know anybody else importing directly and marketing it to hunters.
Right. It's phenomenal, and we've tried your coffee. I'm out of stock right now because I blast through it pretty quick, so I need to place an order. And so tell us about. I mean, Christmas is coming up. What would be like? Let's say you have a hunter in your life and you're watching this and you want to get them a special package of something. What would be an appropriate Christmas gift to give to the hunter to test this out?
We just put up online on huntersblendcoffee.com kind of a combo. Is it a bag of our original roast and a bag of the black powder roast and a mug?
Okay.
A T-shirt. Okay, you have to go
and a mug.
And a mug. Okay, so what's the dollar value?
Oh, it's 20% off.
Okay,
It's about, $50. I think 60, 65 regular.
My daughters and staff here have done some work on a combo, and I don't know, but Hunter's Blend Coffee, they can do a subscription, a year to the coffee drink in their life. They can get we have free shipping on 5 packages at a time. They could bring in a 5-pack. And I want to say something here that there's debate in the coffee community about. I'm an advocate of freezing. We roast the order, so if we get an order, we're going to roast it.
Okay, all right, neat.
Within 7 to 9 days, it's off gassing. It's alive. And if you freeze it in that time, these are heavy, thick foil bags with a Ziploc. They're airtight. If you put that in the freezer, it will stop the coffee aging in time. It stops degassing, off gassing. As you take it out and it comes to room temperature, it'll start swelling up. It's off gassing again. That's so buy 5 bags, put 4 in the freezer, keep 1.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's a good way to get free shipping.
Science, right? Science.
Yeah, science. Economics.
I'm going to check the feed here, Dusty, if you want to pop in there for a second. I'll see if there are any other questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we're in Ohio and we want to come take get a fresh cup of coffee right there at Hunter's Blend, give us the address there, Paul, where we can come to your store and get a fresh cup of coffee.
275 East Sandusky Street in Mechanicsburg.
275 East Sandusky, right there in Mechanicsburg, Ohio.
Very good. And if you wanted to order some online, huntersblendcoffee.com, is that what it is?
Correct, Jake.
Awesome. Well, look out for an order from New Hampshire tomorrow for some black powder. Just a heads up.
Yeah, that'd be definitely a cool experience if we can get up there, Jay, while you're in town. It's not that far. I mean, it's really not that far at all.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Especially when you consider New Hampshire as a starting point, it's barely out of the way.
Right, but
Really
the good thing is he's flying into Dayton and out of Dayton, so it'll definitely be. Are you guys at ATA this year?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll be. I didn't even look. We'll probably. Wednesday afternoon we should be here. Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna drive.
I don't know.
Yeah, Wednesday. Yeah.
Might be a chance we're not here.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, no worries either way. But I know we're both gonna be busy that weekend, and I know you guys gotta tear down shop there Saturday afternoon after the show closes. So you won't be back in Mechanicsburg for a while that evening.
Well, the teardown isn't bad. I mean, It's the show. You know how it thins out before closing time, anyways. And the teardown, I don't know if it took us over an hour last year to get out of there. So we won't be far behind you. If you're leaving at the end of the show, we won't be. We'll be won't be far behind you. That's for sure.
Yeah, it'd definitely be a great experience to see the shop. See what you guys do there. I know Jay's super interested in that technology.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, let me wrap up the live broadcast. Unless you guys, Mike, you had something.
No.
Good. All right, we've been on for about an hour, but I appreciate you guys coming on, and thanks for everybody that's tuning in to the Big Buck Registry Thursday Night Live. We'll be back probably every other week, I would say, from here on out to at least summertime. So think of Thursday night as your BBR night. We'll bring somebody live back. We're going to go back and touch base with all of our former guests and all of our sponsors. And thank you guys for being sponsors of our show. We really appreciate that. And looking forward to some more great coffee from you guys.
Absolutely.
You guys do.
Thank you. All right,
Keep it
I'm
down.
going to sign off. Everybody, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.